Romance began as a series of small but increasingly vigorous movements on the other side of the wall, then a voice murmuring, then as a falling of little fragments on the other side, and as 10 pink fingertips, scarcely apprehended before romance became startlingly and emphatically a leg, remained for a time a fine, slender, actively struggling limb, and then a handsome, red-haired girl wearing a short dress of blue linen was sitting astride the wall, panting, considerably disarranged by her climbing, and as yet unaware of Mr. Polly. "Goodness! I didn't know there was anyone here." "Sorry," said Mr. Polly, "if I'm intrudacious. I didn't know you didn't want me to be here." She reflected for a moment on the word. "It isn't that," she said, surveying him. "I oughtn't to get over the wall," she explained. "It's out of bounds, at least in term time. But this being holidays—" "Holidays is different," said Mr. Polly. He held out a hand for her. "I think I'll stay on the wall," she decided, "so long as some of me's in bounds." She continued to regard him with an irresistible smile of satisfaction. Mr. Polly smiled in return. "Are you lonely?" asked the girl. Mr. Polly nodded. "I was just sitting there in melancholic retrospectatiousness," he said, indicating the logs, and again a swift thoughtfulness swept across her face. "There's no harm in us talking," she reflected. "Let's talk." And for a time they were both tongue-tied. Mr. Polly's literary proclivities had taught him that under such circumstances a strain of gallantry was demanded, and something in his blood repeated that lesson. "You make me feel like one of those old knights," he said, "who rode about the country looking for dragons and beautiful maidens in chivalresque adventures." "Oh," she said. "Why?" "Beautiful maiden," he said. She flushed under her freckles with the quick, bright flush those pretty red-haired people have. "Nonsense," she said. "You are. I'm not the first to tell you that. A beautiful maiden imprisoned in an enchanted school. And here I am, clad in steel. Well, not exactly, but my fiery warhorse is anyhow. Ready to absquatulate all the dragons and rescue you." "You are funny," she said. "Why, I haven't known you 5 minutes." "One doesn't, in this medieval world. My mind is made up, anyhow." "We don't even know each other's names," she remarked, with a descent to matters of fact. "Yours is the prettiest name in the world." "How do you know?" "It must be, anyhow." "It is rather pretty, you know. It's Christabel." From first to last, their acquaintance lasted 10 days. But into that time, Mr. Polly packed 10 years of dreams. The girl and Mr. Polly did not meet on every one of those 10 days. One was Sunday, and she could not come, and on the 8th the school reassembled, and she made vague excuses. All their meetings amounted to this, that she sat on the wall, more or less in bounds as she expressed it, and let Mr. Polly fall in love with her and try to express it below. And Mr. Polly fell in love, as though the world had given way beneath him and he had dropped through into another, a world whose infinite miseries were finer and, in some inexplicable way, sweeter than the purest gold of the daily life. It was senseless, it was utterly foolish, but all that was best and richest in Mr. Polly's nature broke like a wave and foamed up at the girl's feet, and died, and never touched her. "Look here," said Mr. Polly, "I'm wild for the love of you. I can't keep up this gesticulacious game any more. I'm not a knight. Treat me as a human man. You may sit up there smiling, but I die in torments to have you mine for an hour. I'm nobody and nothing. But look here, will you wait for me for 5 years? You're just a girl yet, it won't be hard." "Shut up," said Christabel, in an aside he did not hear, and something he did not see touched her hand. Her expression had become uneasy. Suddenly she bent down towards him. "Don't," she said in an undertone. "Don't what?" "Don't go on like this. You're different. Go on being the knight who wants to kiss my hand in his... what do you call it?" "Girdram." "But..." Then through a pause they both stared at each other listening. "Shut up, Rosie," said a voice. "You idiot, he'll see you. You're spoiling everything." The bottom dropped out of Mr. Polly's world. "You've got someone," he said aghast. She found life inexpressible to Mr. Polly. She addressed some unseen hearers. "You filthy little beasts!" she cried, with a sharp tone of agony in her voice, and swung herself back over the wall and vanished. There was a squeal of pain and fear, and a swift, fierce altercation. For a couple of seconds he stood agape. Romance and his goddess had vanished.